All right, we're going to test our audit planning tool version 1.1, which is a more complicated audit, multi-day and multi-location. Let's go to our lead auditor tab and put in our audit processes first. Management, QMS responsibility, purchasing, contract review, design, production, surface, and production, SSEP. Now these guys are actually making pumps. One of them is pump stuff on the surface, and the other one is submersible. Now we're going to do our components. Opening meeting, closing meeting, lunch, daily opening, because this is a multi-day audit, daily closing, and then we've got follow-up on audit trails, and now we've got follow up on nonconformances from previous audits, and now we've got some sub-processes. Production special processes, because they do a lot of chrome plating and heat treating. Production warehousing. Both of these are considered areas of the plant and their activities, but they're considered sub-processes of these over here. Let's see, we've got production warehousing. Let's put in another one of those. Production machining. All right, so we've got some, looks like we've got opening, closing, following up. We've got our daily opening, closing, so we're cool. Let's allot our time. Management is 60, QMS is 60, purchasing is 60, contract review, design, production, we're going to do 120. And production, we're going to do 120 on that one. Opening meeting, we're going to do 30. Closing is 30. I'm a 30-minute lunch guy. Daily opening and daily closing are each going to be 30 minutes. Following up on audit trails, we're going to make that one 30 minutes. Follow up on nonconformances from previous audits, we're going to make that one 60. And our special processes and all that, we're going to make 60 apiece. So we've got our time allotted, we've got our components. Oh, we have to decide on-site or off-site. Lunch is considered off-site time. So we're going to use the drop down to select off-site. And following up on nonconformances from previous audits is also considered off-site time. So we're going to put off-site on that one too. We cool? We're cool. Now, this is a 4.25 day audit, so we're going to put the audit duration in here. The other amount we've actually scheduled so far is 0. Our client name is the Smith Company. And our stuff is going to be in Dallas and Houston. And our auditor is going to be this guy. The first part of the audit will be held in the first location. That's going to be 8, 10, 20, 18. And we're going to do the first 3 days there. And then the following week, 8, 17, 2017, we're going to do be here. Oops, except for it's 2018. Doesn't keep you from doing typos. It does save you a lot of work. Starting times. We're going to start this one at 8 o'clock in the morning. The third day we're going to go in at 6 o'clock in the morning to see the third shift. And the last day we're going to go at 6 o'clock in the morning. And audit days, this can be 1 or less than 1. We're going to make the first 3 days have to be in that location. We're going to make that 1. And then there's another one, and it's 0.25. And now we've got our 4.25 total audit days. Now we don't have to split it up that way. We can make this one 0.75 and this one 0.5 if we want. And what will happen is that this will adjust the amount of audit time we need to schedule for each of those individual days. And so it'll be 6 hours on that day and 4 hours the following day. But if I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there the full day. So I'm going to call that 1. I'm going to call that 0.25. Shift schedule. We can call these anything we want. So we're going to call them first, second, and third. And our start time is going to be the shift start time, which is going to be 7 o'clock a.m. Oops. And that is 3 o'clock p.m. for the second shift. And the third shift starts at 11 o'clock p.m. All right, so our audit plan, we're going to toggle down here, and our audit plan is first day is going to be in Dallas. And the first activity is going to be the opening meeting. Which we know is going to be a half hour long, so it scheduled this thing for a half hour. Since we knew it was going to start, it added up the extra time, and it knew what it was going to be. So now let's do management, QMS responsibility, and purchasing. And now we're at 11:30. We've got lunchtime. And now we come back from lunch and we're going to do production like we like to do. Uh-oh, we got to change this because we misspelled it. But that's fine. Production. And production surface. And we're going to do the closing meeting now. Because we know it only lasts a half hour. We're actually going to do the daily closing. And so now we've got 8 hours of on-site time. We've got 8 to 4:30. And we've got mostly the first shift and a little bit on second shift. The way this works is that if this activity starts after the start of second shift, it's considered a second shift activity. All right, here's our second day. We're going to be Dallas. And our activity is going to be the daily opening. It's going to be the... Let's figure out what process we haven't done yet. So let's go back up to the top. Here you can see which processes we've selected and which ones we haven't selected. So we haven't selected SSEP yet, and we haven't selected contract review or design. Now we did want to do production SSEP down here. So let's change that. So now we're doing that on the first day. And so now that one's selected. So now we still have to do contract review and design. So it's contract review and design. And now let's do one of the sub-processes. Let's do warehousing. It's 11:30 in the morning. We can go off to a nice greasy lunch. And now we'll come back and do these other two sub-processes. We've done warehousing. We're going to do machining, and we're going to do special processes. And we've got 2.5 hours we still need to schedule. Let's schedule follow-up nonconformances from previous audits. All right, that took up an hour, but notice that it didn't take up any on-site time. That's because we designated it as an off-site activity all the way up here. So now we're going to have to go back. We've got 2.5 hours of schedule, so let's do some more production. And let's do our daily closing. All right, I'm calling this cool. We're going from 8 to 5:30. We have 8 hours of on-site time because it deducted the lunch and the nonconformances from previous audits, and so we're good. And notice that we're actually doing some auditing activity on the second shift. If we wanted to stay in the second shift longer, we could start later. So let's go up here to this and start at 9 o'clock in the morning. And what will happen is that it adjusted the day 2 start time to 9 o'clock, and it pushed it to later in the day, 6:30, and we have more activities on the second shift. So we have activities on the second shift now. All right, so day 3, we're going to call same place, Dallas again. We've decided we were going to go in at 6 o'clock in the morning and we're going to do a daily opening. And now we're going to do some more production. And we're going to do even more production. And we're going to follow up on audit trails. And we can do these more than once if we want. So we're going to follow up on audit trails for another half hour. And now we're going to go out to lunch. All right, now we're going to go up and see if there's anything we haven't selected yet. We've selected all these, so we're into crunch time now. We can go right ahead if we want to and fill out the rest of the day with production. We still need to schedule 2.5 hours. We'll do a little more production, and then we're going to do the closing meeting or the daily closing, whichever. 8 hours of on-site time, 6 to 2:30. Half hour for lunch, and we're looking good. We get off early that day. So the next day of the audit is in Houston. We're going to toggle Houston. And our activity is going to be the daily opening. And we're going to do the daily closing. Or no, we're not going to do the daily closing yet. We're going to do something. These guys have some design activity in Houston, so we're going to do this. We're also going to do some SSEP production. Now we're going to go out to lunch because it's toward the middle of the day. We don't have to go out, but it's considered off-site time. And we've still got 4.5 hours to schedule. That means we're going to do some more production. We're going to do the warehouse. We're going to do special processes. And we're going to do our daily closing meeting. So you get the idea here. We've got 8 hours of on-time scheduling. We've got all our processes under control. We've got all our processes in both sites under control now, and so we're cool. So here's the final day of the audit. We're going at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to get a daily opening. We're going to just basically audit the third shift for a little while. We're going to do follow-up on audit trails for a while. We are going to do more following up on audit trails. And now we're going to do the closing meeting. So we're looking good. We've got 2 hours of on-site time scheduled. We don't need to schedule anymore. We've got 8 hours there. We've got 8 hours there. We're all cool. We're good. We've got both locations scheduled. And we're looking good. Now let's go to our process matrix. Process matrix is partially filled in already, but we're going to start over and do this again. This isn't automatic. We're going to go up here and copy the check mark, and then we're going to come down here and paste by using Control V. So in this place, most of the production processes are considered critical. So we're going to do Control V. Context of the organization, all that's management activity, we're going to do Control V. Leadership, all that's management activity, we're going to do Control V. Planning is management, we're going to do Control V. Support is all this, and we're going to do Control V. Except that we do know that in all of these activities there's competence requirements, and so we're going to audit those all the way throughout the place. Documented information. Every place has documented information, records, and all that stuff. We're going to audit that every place we go. Operations. Operational planning and control. That's contract review. We're going to click at design. We know we're going to do design. externally provided processes. And here's our production. Oops. And here's our production. Performance evaluation, that's a QMS responsibility at this place. Management review is management responsibility. And improvement is these two processes here. Now we're going to check to see that we've got all of our rows checked, and as we clear that we do because they're not highlighted in red. We're going to check to see that we've got all our columns checked, and we do because they're not highlighted in red either. The ones that have processes have actually something in the check mark in that column. So our process matrix is looking good. So now we're going to save this as Smith Company Audit Plan. And now we're going to get ready to print our audit plan. We'll go back to Lead Auditor. We're going to highlight the stuff we want to print, which is this stuff right here. We're going to go to File, Print, Print to PDF. We're going to do that. We're going to print the selection. So here's our print preview of all the things we're going to have on here. We are going to try to fit all columns on one page, which makes that's our horizontal scaling. And we're going to call it good, and now we're going to say print. And this thing has produced a Smith Company Audit Plan 2018, and we're done. Total elapsed time on this has been about 10 minutes. We have an audit that does all the processes. We have the right amount of audit time on-site schedule for each one of the days. We have our shifts, first, second, and third done. We have all our processes done, and the processes we want on the process matrix are all done, and the process matrix is filled out. Elapsed time is about 10 minutes. Thanks for watching.